Assalamu alaikum, good morning everyone. Welcome back to our online video class. In this session, I am going to deal with the development of hindgut. We know that the primitive gut tube actually is divided into three parts. One is called the foregut, then the midgut and the hindgut. And these primitive gut tube, it extends from cloacal membrane, it is the cloacal membrane, here is the cloacal membrane to the oropharyngeal membrane to the cloacal membrane. And foregut actually in fetal life it extends from the oropharyngeal membrane to the anterior intestinal portal, and midgut it extends from anterior intestinal portal to the posterior intestinal portal, and the hindgut which extends from the posterior intestinal portal to the cloacal membrane. This oropharyngeal and cloacal membrane, here the red one is the endoderm and the black one remarks the ectoderm. There is no intervening mesoderm, there is the meeting point of the ectoderm and the endoderm. So, these two membrane, one is called the oropharyngeal membrane and it is the cloacal membrane. So, hindgut in fetal life it extends from posterior intestinal portal to the cloacal membrane, but in adult life the hindgut actually it extends from the junction between right 2/3 and left 1/3 of the transverse colon to the upper 2/3 of the anal canal, that is the pectinate line of the anal canal. So, now here is the hindgut, it again divided into two parts by the allantois. This one is the allantois. This allantois is nothing, it is the projection of yolk sac toward the connecting stalk. So, by the allantois the hindgut is divided into pre-allantoic part and the post-allantoic part. And this post-allantoic part it is also called the cloaca, or it is also called the endodermal cloaca because it is endodermal tube. So, the cloaca or post-allantoic part, or it is called the endodermal cloaca. And here is the pit of the ectoderm over the cloacal membrane, and this pit is called the proctodium. It is the pit of the ectoderm over the cloacal membrane, and this pit is called the proctodium, or it is also called the ectodermal cloaca. Now, here is the hindgut, and we know that the three gut tube, it is the foregut, that is the midgut and the hindgut. The foregut, derivatives of the foregut is supplied by the celiac trunk, derivatives of the midgut is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery, and the derivatives of the hindgut is supplied by the inferior mesenteric artery. So, these three are the branches of the dorsal aorta, or it is the ventral branch of the abdominal aorta. So, the hindgut, derivatives of the hindgut is supplied by the inferior mesenteric artery. Now, come to the point, this red one it is the hindgut, and this hindgut, the lower distal or distal dilated part of the hindgut, it is called the cloaca. So, there is a septum, this black one is the septum, and it is the mesodermal septum, or this septum is formed by the condensation of the mesenchyme, and this septum is called the urorectal septum. This urorectal septum actually divide the cloaca into two parts, that is the ventral part and the dorsal part, and this ventral part is called the urogenital sinus, and the dorsal part or the posterior part it is called the anorectal canal, and ultimately the dorsal part of the cloaca it form the rectum and upper 2/3 of the anal canal up to the pectinate line. And the urogenital sinus, here this urogenital sinus actually it forms the urinary bladder and the urethra, and this is the allantois. This allantois actually connecting with the connecting stalk, and this allantois ultimately it forms a band like structure that is called the urachus, and ultimately this urachus form a ligament, that ligament is called median umbilical ligament, and this by the median umbilical ligament this urinary bladder actually it connect with the umbilicus, and this urorectal septum, look very carefully, this urorectal septum ultimately they actually fused with the cloacal membrane. This is the cloacal membrane, this is the cloacal membrane, and this urorectal septum when it fused with the cloacal membrane like this is the urorectal septum and it is the cloacal membrane. When this urorectal septum connect with the cloacal membrane, it divide the cloacal membrane into 3 parts. Where the urorectal septum connect with the cloacal membrane, it forms the perineal body. It forms the perineal body. So, it ultimately forms the perineal body, and the part in front of the perineal body, it forms urogenital membrane, and the part which lies behind the perineal body, it forms another membrane, that is called the anal membrane. So, ultimately the cloacal membrane forms 3 important structure. One is called the perineal body, and in front of the perineal body it is formed the urogenital membrane, and behind the perineal body it forms the actually anal membrane. And this anal membrane actually rupture at 7th week of development. When this anal membrane actually ruptures, there is the proctodium. This proctodium will invaginate into the anorectal canal, and this now come to this figure here. This is the anal canal, and it is the upper 2/3 of the anal canal. There is the anal column, and it is the anal valve. And this pectinate line up to the pectinate line of the upper 2/3 of the anal canal, it develops from the endodermal cloaca, and below the 1/3 of the anal canal actually it formed by the proctodium. By when the anal membrane ruptures, this proctodium actually invaginates into the cloaca, and ultimately it forms the lower 1/3 of the anal canal. So, the upper 2/3 of the anal canal is derived from the endoderm, and lower 1/3 of the anal canal is derived from the proctodium. That means it is the ectodermal proctodium. So, it derived from the ectoderm. So, upper 2/3 of the anal canal, it is lined by the simple columnar or columnar epithelium, and the lower 1/3 of the anal canal, though it is arises from or derived from the ectodermal proctodium, so it is lined by the stratified squamous epithelium. And we know that the upper 2/3 of the anal canal actually it is supplied by the superior rectal artery. This superior rectal artery is the branch of the inferior mesenteric artery. So, the endodermal cloaca is supplied by the superior rectal by the inferior mesenteric artery, and this superior rectal artery is the branch of the inferior mesenteric artery, and the lower 1/3 of the anal canal is supplied by the inferior rectal artery. This inferior rectal artery is the branch of the internal iliac artery, and internal iliac artery is the branch of the common iliac artery, and the common iliac artery actually it is the branch of the abdominal aorta. So, and upper 2/3 of the anal canal, it is supplied, the blood drains from upper 2/3 of the anal canal, that is up to the pectinate line. It drains into the superior rectal vein, and this superior rectal vein ultimately drains into the inferior mesenteric vein, and here is the inferior mesenteric vein, and this inferior mesenteric vein ultimately drains into the splenic vein, and by the fusion of splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein, they form the portal vein, and that portal vein actually goes into the liver. So, if any pressure increases within the portal vein or portal hypertension develops, then what will be happen? Then pressure within splenic vein will be increases, then the pressure within the inferior mesenteric vein it may be increases, and finally the pressure within the superior rectal vein will be increased. If the pressure within the superior rectal vein is increases, then superior rectal vein will be engorged and dilated, and it is known as hemorrhoids. So, this superior rectal vein it drains blood from upper 2/3 of the anal canal, and below the 2/3 of the anal canal the blood drains into the middle rectal vein and the inferior rectal vein, and this middle rectal vein actually it anastomoses with the superior rectal vein, and if the middle rectal hemorrhoids occur or any tumor or any other inflammation occur in the upper 2/3 of the anal canal, then the superior rectal vein will be engorged, and if the middle rectal vein is engorged and dilated, then it is called the external piles, and if the dilatation or engorged vein of the superior rectal vein occurs, then it is called the internal piles. And upper 2/3 of the anal canal actually it is supplied by the visceral nerve, and the nerve are the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve, and the parasympathetic is the pelvic splanchnic nerve, and the lower 1/3 of the anal canal is supplied by the inferior rectal nerve, and it is the cutaneous nerve, because the lower 1/3 of the anal canal is derived from the ectodermal proctodium, so that it is supplied by the cutaneous nerve, and the nerve is called the inferior rectal nerve. and if any inflammation or any tumor or any abscess occurs in the lower 1/3 of the anal canal, it will be very painful because the inferior rectal nerve, it is the cutaneous nerve. But if the any inflammation or any tumor or carcinoma occurs within the upper 2/3 of the anal canal, it will be painless because it is supplied by the visceral nerve. And finally, this cloacal membrane here, it actually if the urorectal septum, it does not fused with the it does not fuse with the cloacal membrane, then what will be happen? Then there is a communication occur between the anterior part of the cloaca and the posterior part of the cloaca. Then there will be a fistula occur between the rectum and the urinary bladder, and this fistula is called a rectovesical fistula, or the fistula occurs between the rectum and the vagina, then it is called the rectovaginal fistula. So, this rectovesical and rectovaginal fistula occurs due to the incomplete separation of the cloaca by the urorectal septum, then the fistula, rectovesical and the rectovaginal fistula will be occur. So, that is all about the development of the hindgut. So, thank you very much.